Hello, thank you for joining me today. We are still looking at JavaScript, and today we want to look at arrays. So our objective today are as follows. We are going to look at how is arrays or how arrays are different from other data types that are there. We are going to look at how to create an array in JavaScript, how to access and manipulate individual elements in an array. We are also going to look at how to loop over an array to perform operation on all its elements, or how you can be able to work with arrays in JavaScript. Now, apart from that, we are also going to look at what are some of the methods or the functions that are already existing that you can use to manipulate or move around arrays. And finally, we are going to restrict our lesson up to that point. The other higher order array methods like map, filters, and reuse or reduce, we'll use them or we'll look at them later on. So to start us off, we need to understand clearly what an array is. So an array is a collection of values, similar to a list. If you are familiar with Python, there is always a data structure called a list. So it is a data structure that can hold one or more values, which can be of any type. So you can have arrays storing other arrays. That is something that has been tried and it is already there. Arrays are normally very powerful tools that you can use to store and manipulate a collection of data efficiently. So we are going to look at the basic idea, the basic understanding behind arrays, because this is a very important aspect of computer programming. This is very important aspect of any high level programming language. There must be a way of manipulating data, because at the end of the day, any program that is created works around with the data and processing this data to give us a concrete outcome or to make our life easier. So when writing programs, we might want to deal with data related information or related data types that we don't want to declare so many variables to hold each one of them, but we can only create or declare one variable that can hold a number of data we have. So such kind of a variable that can hold quite a number of data which are of related types is what we call an array. So when creating an array in JavaScript, we use what we call bracket notation. So there is also the keyword const, which you should use before the name of the array. So this is how you create an array. We use the bracket notation, then you write or you declare an array using the constant keyword. Then there you come up with the name of your array, and then you assign values to your array. So you assign values written inside the bracket notation to your array to make sure that your array has got some data in it or some elements. So as you can see, this array has got 5 elements stored in it. Now we can also create an empty array using the keyword new. So this keyword new is very important. So you can see how we are creating a new array here. We say const empty array equals to new array. So here we've been able to create an empty new array like that using the keyword new. So when you use the keyword new before an array like this, you are creating a new array. So this new array is assigned to an empty array variable that we have created, and we have been able to declare it using the keyword constant. So we declare a variable using the keyword const, then we give the name of the array, and later on we assign an array to a new array to an existing array name that we have created. So the next thing is, how do we access the elements of an array? So when data is stored in an array, it is also important to take note of the positioning of these elements within an array. Now, data stored in array are stored in special spaces set aside, known as index. So if you have an array that has got 5 elements, so it means that there are 2 indices. There are 5 indices or index, so that you can count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indices. So that means there are 5 positions in which all these data elements are slotted into. So we can also be able to understand that array, working with them in JavaScript, whenever you want to display the outcome of an array, you use the console log as compared to displaying it on HTML. So sometimes you might find it hard that you are not able to see the outcome of your array calculation or the outcome of array manipulation that you are trying to implement. It is not coming out on the screen. It doesn't mean whatever you do or whatever you are doing is not working. It's only that whatever you are doing is displayed on the console but not on the web page where you are at that particular moment. So that should not raise issues with you. You can simply go to console and be able to see the outcome. I'll show you later on when we are working on these arrays, as we declare them, as we work with them. I'll show you how you can go around that and see. So here I have an array called my array. As you can see, I have got 5 elements within my array. So to view or to see the content of my array on the screen, I'm going to use the console function dot log array, my array. Then I supply the index of my array, so it will output 1. So the index of an array normally is numbered from 0. So technically this 1 will be in index 0, 2 is in index 1, 3 is in index 2, 4 is in index 3, and 5 is in index 4 rather. So technically an array indexing start from 0. So if you have 4 elements stored in an array, so you need to know that the index that is the first in your array is 0, followed by 1, followed by 2, and that makes them 3 indices, because you are counting from 0, not from 1. So in my case here, this one that I have here, or rather this one that I have in my array, is in index 0, 2 is in index 1, 3 is in index 2, 4 is in index 3, and 5 is in index 4. So if you want to view or to access the element of an array, you can do that using their index. So the index start at 0. So the indexing of an array the indexing numbering of an array start from 0. So this is how you can be able to see the elements, or rather the content of an array, if you would wish to view a certain variable or a certain value stored in a certain index of an array. So you can view the content of array index using the index number. So it is important to recall that indexing of an array start from 0. It is important to know that. Now you can also modify an element within an array. So to do that, you still use the array index, then you assign the value that you want to be stored in that index. So like in this case, this is my array, which as you can see was declared well in advance. And now at index 2 I've got 3, but I want to replace that 3 with 10. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a write index 2 which contain 3 and assign that index 10 to it. So I'm assigning 10 to index 2. So technically this 3 will be replaced by 10 when I output my array. So this is how you output the array. It will be able to, the console will be able to run through the array and will display to you the elements that you have within your array. Okay, now we can also loop through an array in a smart way. Rather than viewing each index by supplying their index number, we can loop through an array by using the for loop control structure to access the individual index within an array and see the content using that array. So here I have a for loop. So this is my array still. So I'm using for let I equals 1. I should be less than my array length. So there is a function length in JavaScript that you can use to determine the length of an array. If you want to get the length of an array, you can use the length function to get that length of an array you've got. So I'm going to have for let I equals 0. I is less my array dot length, so this is basically the length of an array. Then each time an index is viewed, the value is incremented by 1. Remember, a for loop is a predetermined. It is a predetermined kind of a loop, because when you are going through the loop, you already know at the back of your mind that you want the loop to loop certain number of times. So in this case, the loop is going to loop 5 times, because we want to be able to view the content we have in the array we have. So this is how you use your array and a loop structure. So you write the for statement or the for loop, then console.log my array.I. So this I is going to represent the number of index, or the index number. So whatever will be in that index will be displayed for you on the screen. Now that being said, it is also important to note that there are other array methods that we can use. So JavaScript provides several built-in methods for working with arrays. So some of them are here. We have push, which is normally used to add an element to the end of an array. There is also this method known as pop, which removes the last element of an array. So if you want to remove an element from an array, you use the you use the method pop to pop out the element in the array. If you want to add an element in an array, you use push to add the element at the end of an array. If you want to remove the first element of an array, you use the method known as shift. If you want to add an element into an array, you use an shift method to add an element at the beginning of an array. So you add an element at the beginning, you use an shift. If you want to add at the end of an array, you use push. If you want to get this, the specific index of an array, return the index of specified element in an array, you use the method called index of. Then you also have what we call the slice method, which is normally used to create a subset of an array, right? You create a subset array, or an array from an existing array. You get a subset of that array. So to create a subset of an original array you can use the method slice. Okay, so this is how you can be able to actually use these methods. So I have an array called my array. So if I want to add an element at the end of an array, I'll use the method push. If I want to remove something from, or a value from, the end of the array, I use pop method. So I write the name of the array, push, then add 6 to that index. So 6 is going to be added at the end of the array. So I have my array dot push 6. So 6 as a value is going to be added after 5. Remember, our array, the last element in that array was 5. So just after 5, we'll push 6 to now occupy the 5th position, or the 5th index of the array. If we want to remove that number 6 we've got, we use pop. So pop is going to remove that element. If you want to remove an element at the beginning of our array, we are going to write my array dot shift. So it is going to remove the one that we had in index 0. So if we want to add some element into our array in the first index, or at the beginning of the array, we use my array. So my array here represents the name of the variable. It can be the name of the array. It can be any name depending on what you name your array to be. So mine was my array. So my array dot and shift 0. So this one is going to add a 0 at the beginning of the array. Then we have the console.log my array dot index of 3. So index, what do we have at index? What do we have, or which index is 3 placed? So we'll be able to see 2. You see, as we can see, let's see, index of 3 is 2. So in our case, we have 2 in index, we have 3 in index 2. That's why the output here is 2. So as you can see, we want to see in which index number do we have 3. So we use array.index of. So the index of 3 is 2, as you can see. And as you can recall, we said that the array index numbering begins from 0. So 1 is in 0, 2 is in 1, 3 is in 2, right? So that's why we see 2 here. Now console log in bracket my array dot slice 1 1 4. So it is going to produce an array, a subset array, with the following elements: 2, 3, and 4. So it will leave out 1 and 5 because we only stated slice 1, slice 1 2 from 1 all the way to 4. So it is going to display only those ones. So that is how you can work with array. So you always remember that you have a push, pop, shift, and shift. Then there is also the index of, and there is also the slice method. Slice method is used to create a subset of an array. Index of is used to display the index where a certain value is existing, and shift is used to add some content at the beginning of an array. Shift is used to remove something from the beginning of an array. Then we have pop, which is used to remove an element from the rear end of an array. Then we have the push, which is used to add element at the end of an array. So it is important to note that. Now let's move on to the practical aspect of what we are learning today. So here I have my my JavaScript or my template on which I want us to do the task that we are learning today about. So I want us to do our coding here now. So remember, we said when you're declaring a variable of a array type, you use the keyword const. So I've been able to do that. So I want to declare an array. So let's see. I'm going to call my array and this array is assigned. We need to assign that. Then we can write the values that we want in our array. Okay, let's see 4. Okay, 2. Let's see 1. Alright, so there's something I did here which I think so I need to start with this. I need to write that. Then we do 5 4 3 2 1. So those are the elements. Those are the elements I have in my array. Now I can also, that's how you can create an array. So the name of the array is my array, and the keyword const comes before that name, indicating that this is an array or a constant of an array type. Good. Now we can also create a new array like this. We say const. We still use const empty array equals to, or we assign now new array to that. New array to that. So there is a mistake here. This one can cost you a lot. So there we have we've created an empty array. So that's how you can create an empty array or create a new array using the keyword new. Okay, Now, after creating your array, you might want to view the content. You must want to see what exactly do you have in your arrays after assigning the content you've got into the arrays that you have. So this is how you can create an array. And so let's say I want to view what I have in my array. So the first thing first, you need to know that in an array, the values that you store are normally placed in specific index, or they are placed in specific indexes or indices. They are placed in specific positions. Now these positions are what we call index. So in my case, the 5 you can be able to see here is in index 0. So array starts is indexing or is position of storing values from 0, not 1. So get to know that. So currently what I have in index 0 is 5. What I have in index 1 is 4. What I have in index 2 is 3. What I have in index 3 is 2. And lastly, what I have in index 4 is 1. So let's say I want to see what I have in index 3 or even 4. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write here a console dot log and say this. I want to see the content I have in index 4. So I'm going to write my array, then the braces or the brackets, then I put in there the index whose data I want to view. So I do 4 there. I can choose to terminate my line that way. So in JavaScript, that semicolon is not mandatory. It's only mandatory when you are writing when you are writing more than one code or when you are writing many different codes or statement in one line. So it is necessary you separate them using the semicolon, but the semicolon is not mandatory. As you can see, in most of the things we've done, at times we've been able to negate or leave out that semicolon, but there are situations where you need the semicolon. As I've said, you always need it when you are writing different statement or different codes in a single line. So for you to separate them, you need to use the semicolon to separate the commands or the statements you are writing on single line if there are several. So having done that, now if I save this work and now go to my browser, let's see if I go to the browser, what will I have? Okay, so I need to run my server once again so that I'm able to see the outcome. So let me go live again. So when it comes to JavaScript displaying content of an array on a normal web page browser, it is not possible. So if you want to see the result of your array manipulation and such, you go to the console. So to get console, these are the steps you follow. You go to this 3 dot on your Chrome browser, then you go to more tools, then you come to developers tool, and once you're there, you will be able to see console. You'll have elements here, then console. So when you click console, you'll be able to see. So in index 4, as we've stated, we have 1, and that is the reason this 1 is displayed here, because it is inside what we call index 4. So that's how it is. So at times you might want to modify the content of an array. How do you modify that? So that is pretty simple. So what you do, you just go back to your browser and you use this statement here. So you write my array, you write the name of the array. So in my case, the name of the array is my array. Then you put the braces. Then you state which index do you want to modify its content. So apparently, as you can see, my numbers have been placed in the arrays in reverse manner. So maybe I want to correct that. So I want to correct that as I show you how to modify the content. So in index 0, I want right now to replace it with 1. Yeah, so I want to replace it by 1. So let's see, let's copy this. Let me copy this line. So copy this. So let's see, I want to replace index, what I have in index is 1. So I'm going to paste this. So let me just paste it below here. So I'm going to write this index 1 in there, and also make sure the content is now changed to 2. I'm going to paste another line of code similar. So this we are going to index 2. So in index 2, I want to have 3 inside there. Then we go to the next index, which is 3. So in index 3, I want to have 4 stored in there. Then last but not least, I want to have in index 4, I want to have 5 now instead of 1. So as you can see here, been able to, I want to alter all this, right? So I want to alter all that. So to see how the change has been made, I want to access the content of the array using a loop. So I'm going to use the for loop. So this is how you come up with the for loop. So you need to write the keyword for, then followed by the brackets, the curved bracket. So I write there, let I be equals to, I should be equals to 0. Then I put a colon there. Then write I should be less than my array length, should be less than my array length. Then put a semicolon there. Then I plus plus. Okay, then I head now to the body of my for loop. Then here I'm going to use console. I'm going to use console dot log, then brackets there. Then inside I write my array, the braces or the brackets. Then I put inside there the I. So I is what we are going to use to loop through the array. So then I do the semicolon at the end of that, and let's now see the content of our array, if they are going to change or they are going to remain the same. So let's go back to our browser, and now as you can see, the arrangement has changed. Initially I had 5 here, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Now I've been able to reverse the arrangement, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order. So initially I did not have that. Even if we go back to the program or the IDE that I'm using to code this, you see in my index 1 I had 4, in my index 0 I had 5. So in my index 0 now I have 1, in my index 1 I have 2, in my index 2 I have 3, in my index 3 I have 4, in my index number 5, my index number 4 I have 5. So you are able to see that. So that's how you can be able to loop through an array. So there are certain methods that you can use to modify or basically to add elements into your array. So there are some we have some other method like push. So push is used to add content at the end of an array. So if I write today, I write push, I write my array dot push push, let me write my words properly. Push, let's say I want to add 8 there, so I save that. Now if I go back to my browser, you will be able to see a change. So 8 has been added at the end of the array. So another index has been added. Now index 5 has got 8. Okay, so let's say I don't need that. I don't need that anymore. So I can do away with push now. I can change this push to pop. So I can, let me just change this. So instead of push, I have pop. So I want to remove pop. I want to remove what I have there. So save that. Now when I go back to my browser, you'll be able to notice that 8 is no longer there. So 8 and 5 are no longer there. It's like I effected that change twice. Okay, so that's how you can be able to remove something from the end of an array. Now what if I do unshift? Yeah, what if I do unshift? Okay, so let's see. I go back to my browser, or not, rather my, then here instead of writing pop, instead of writing pop there, okay, let me even remove all this because I don't need them anymore. We've been able to understand what their roles are. So the next thing I can do is to do this. I say now let me do my array dot unshift my array dot unshift, and there I do 8. Then I terminate that, then save. Yeah, and see what will technically happen to my variable. Okay, in the variables or the indexes I have in my array. So let's head to the browser and see actually what we have. Good. So as you can see, we've added 8 at the beginning of our array. So 8 is now occupying the index 0, okay, instead of 5. So remember we said unshift is used to add element at the beginning of an array. Then shift is used to remove an element at the end of an array. Remember, push is used to add element at the end of an array, and shift is used to add an element at the beginning of an array. Shift is used to remove an element from the initial, or from the topmost, from the index 0 of an array, that is unshift. and shift is used to add. So shift is used to remove from the top of an array. Well, we use pop to remove an element at the end of an array. So that's how this thing work. So if I go back to my coding interface, okay, I can remove that, and this time around I want to see what I have, what I have in a certain index, right? What I have in a certain index. I want to view what I have in a certain index. So I can use the index of method to see what I have in a certain index. So for now, let me comment this portion of my code. For now, let me comment that bit so that I show you what I'm talking about. So let's say I want to view a specific content in a certain index. So I'm going to use console. I'm going to use console dot log again. Then right in there, I'm going to write my array. I'm going to write my array dot index in the small one, right? So that one is correct. So if I save that, I should be able to see the result on my browser. Yeah, so I'll be able to see 2. So 2 is what I have in that particular index of interest, and my index of interest was 3. Okay, so moving on, the next thing that I would want to show you is how to use the slice method. So a slice method is used this way. I'm still going to use my in fact, let me just edit this so that it reflects what I'm talking about. So I can have my array, I write slice, then I say slice it from index 1 to index 4. So when I press Control S, or when I save rather, and go to my browser, there must be a change. So you can see I have 3 elements, and that is what is telling me I have 3 elements, and this number here tells me the number of elements I have in the array. So I have 1, 2, 3. So that is how you can work with this that's how you can work with these functional methods that are used or pre-existing within JavaScript structure to view the content, to modify the content, and to add or to reduce the number of elements you have in an array. So remember, we use push to add something at the end of an array. We use pop to remove something from the end of an array. We use shift to remove something from the top of an array, and we use unshift to add something on top of an array. And we use the index of function to view a content of a specific index of an array we are interested in, then we also know that we use the slice function to come up with a sub array. So in this case, our sub array has got 3 elements, and I've been able to show you from what we've covered today. So thank you very much for joining me. That is the basic idea behind arrays. So going on or going forward, you have a clear picture of what an array is and how you can make use of it in JavaScript. So see you next time and stay tuned.